So, I want to talk about why I'm glad I didn't get married at a young age or get married in my 20s. So, I realized that when I'm talking to housewives or women that have been, taken care of and provided for in their early 20s or at a young age, I realized there's like a disconnect. And I noticed that once these women get married, they kind of enter into almost like a contract. Marriage is a contract. Some say it's a business. They kind of enter into a contract, just like a job where there is a, unspoken or spoken rule that, this is a contract. I expect you to behave this way. If you don't behave this way, then this contract might end and this might not work. So I feel like when a woman enters a marriage, it kind of stunts her personal growth. It stunts her personal evolution to become the best version of who she is, mentally, physically, and spiritually. And I feel like this happens because, in this contract of a marriage, you're expected to, behave a certain way or that contract may end. And, for women to become the best version of themselves, I feel like a lot of times that requires not being in the presence of a man as much as a woman is when she's married. So, a man being in a woman's space, I feel like it extracts from her. So, especially if she's having a lot of sex, I feel like, the man's penis is shaped like a suction cup to withtract energy, you know, from the woman energetically, and also to unload his energy into the woman. So that's a powerful energy exchange that goes on constantly. So even if a woman like is working on herself, in a marriage, working on herself and spending time alone, once she is, once she is engaging in sex, if the man is not on the same level or higher than her, he's going to take her to a lower frequency. So it's like all of the spiritual work she's done, all of the knowledge she's gotten, all of the energetic work she's acquired to get her to a certain level. Once the man ejaculates into her, then he extracts that from her, and that prevents her from going to a high frequency unless that man is, at a certain frequency or higher than hers, which is possible. It is possible. I've seen it. I didn't think it was possible at first until I met men like that. I saw women with men like that. I didn't think it was possible, but it is, which is great. And, when I'm speaking to these women who have been married at a young age and taken care of, I notice there's almost like a disconnect. So me, being a single woman, providing for myself, protecting for myself, being out here in the world, learning for myself, and just catering pretty much everything to myself, it allows me to constantly pour energy into myself. Everything I learn, all of the people I've spoken to all over the world, all of the different careers I've been pulled towards because I wanted to learn something or experience something, I'm able to hold that energy and feed all of those powerful experiences and all of this information back into myself. So it's kind of like I'm constantly pouring love into myself without it being extracting from like a man during sex or just being around a man in general. I feel like this is like such a powerful thing for a woman to pour that energy back into herself rather than, pouring energy into her husband or to her children and just giving. It's a whole different world when that woman is able to have all of that energy and pour it back into herself and be able to indulge in that, to sit in that frequency, to really just explore every single part of herself spiritually, mentally, and physically. And I feel like in order for a woman to reach her highest frequency and to become the best version of herself, she must either be alone or be around other women majority of the time. Now, there is that rare occurrences where there are those men who are on a high frequency or higher. That is, however, very, very, very rare. Very rare. And it's not likely. So I stick to what I'm saying, that, you know, it's powerful. In order for a woman to step into her full power, she's either going to be alone or either going to be surrounded by other powerful women. And I think it's so interesting, you know, the different paths that we take as women. And I'm thankful that I did not get married at a young age, because I'm looking back on my life experiences, even though that's what I think I want, and my whole purpose of dating is to be protected and provided for. I'm thankful to have been able to cultivate that masculine side of me that requires me to, you know, not be codependent, to be a whole human being in my own right. I'm able to hold my own. I'm able to feel safe. I'm able to, you know, go anywhere I want and feel like I'm protected, because I've practiced, and I've known how to fend for myself. And, you know, being by yourself, you fail, you get up and try again. You fail, you get up and try again. You fail, you get up and try again until you get it right. Because that's what life is on your own. You just keep trying and trying and trying until you get it right. And that makes you so powerful. It makes you so successful. It makes you so resilient. It makes you so powerful. And I feel like, you know, a lot of women, you know, envy women who are housewives, who are fully taken care of in their own right. Because they think, oh my God, you know, this woman must live such a soft life. She must have it so easy, you know. But that's not always the case. Everything has pros and everything has cons. Just like me being a single woman, it has a pro and it has a con. I don't have anybody to bring in my groceries. I don't have anybody to smash, you know, the spider I'm freaking out about, or the little roach, you know, I'm having a heart attack over. I don't have anybody paying my bills. I don't have anybody, you know, to really like call upon if I'm in need, without them being like, what are you gonna do for me? But, you know, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that, because it allows me to, you know, become more powerful, to become more stronger, to become more of a whole human being, to incorporate my feminine and my masculine at the same time. Now, I know that life is not for a lot of women. A lot of women wouldn't tolerate, you know, being alone, and a lot of women, you know, don't like that. I'm not saying I like it. This is just how my life has unfolded. And I felt like it unfolded like this for a reason, because I had this deep desire to become the best version of myself, with or without anybody. That was that was a desire, like deep down inside of me, that had to unfold. And that was part of my evolution and my life path. And I'm so thankful I ended up this way. Because, you know, I speak to a lot of women who are housewives, and I just sometimes I don't understand what that world is like. And when I speak to these women, it's kind of like their growth got stunted at the age they got married at. Because when they got married at such a young age, or when they signed into that contract, they almost had to like stop and start like working, because it is like a job, you know, with certain like a known, you know, boundaries and what's accepted and what's not. And so a lot of these women, because they didn't have time to be alone or cultivate their spiritual gifts, or just be the best person they can be in their whole right without being codependent on anyone else, a lot of them are like stuck. They're like mentally stuck in the age they got married at. And I feel like that is greatly beneficial for their husband, because their husband, you know, always has like that youthful energy in the home, and that youthful, you know, woman who, you know, didn't have to have life experiences that, you know, made her mature or made her, you know, stronger in the world. A lot of people don't like their wife being strong. They don't like them having experiences. They don't like them being a whole human being, because then they feel like, why am I there for? if you've already cultivated that masculine side, why is the man there for? And I feel like this is an outdated belief, because I feel like, now that we're in 2025, everybody is supposed to be evolving. And, you know, if men evolve alongside with women, then their masculine is going to get so strong, then it won't matter if the woman is able to make money, you know, have that little bit of masculine in her, because most women, are dominant feminine compared to men. So it wouldn't be like a comparison or a competition, if we're all on the same evolution journey to become the best version of ourselves. So I do feel like that is the big difference in dating in this world today, in the conflict, because I feel like I honestly do feel like certain type of marriages where people aren't really fully whole human beings in their own right, that they're too codependent on each other. They can't do anything without each other, or they're attached by the hip, or they say they'll die without each other. I feel like that's extremely toxic, and you can only go so high in those types of marriages. And a marriage that is strong is when two people can hold their own, when two people are the best version of themselves. Those are the marriages that, we look at and we say, wow, you guys are really amazing. How did you get to where you were? Those are the marriages that we aspire to be like. And I think it's really interesting, the difference, because when I talk to women who have become married at a young age, can't really relate to each other, because I have had so many different life experiences, and I have evolved, and I had the time to catch up on information. I wanted to engage with so many different types of people, travel to where she can only relate to her housewife duties, maybe shopping, Pilates, I don't know. But not that anything's wrong with that. I just feel like it's interesting, the difference and the different life paths that women have taken. So yeah, I just think it's interesting. Like, what would it be like for me to have been married in my 20s? Like what kind of person would I be today if that would have happened? It's just interesting to think about. Like, if you would have made different decisions, like, would you still be as happy? Or I know I probably would not be, because I would feel like something's missing inside, because I didn't get out there into the world and have to fend for myself, which is kind of cool, because there was a time where women didn't have a choice to get married or not. They just had to get married to do anything. So I'm really thankful to have had these life experiences, and I'm thankful my life did unfold the way it did, regardless of people asking me why I'm single, when am I going to have kids, where's my grandbabies, or all of this stuff. I'm glad I just always stayed true to who I am, and followed my own path regardless of what anyone else thought. And I'm really thankful for that experience. So let me know what you think. I would love to hear your thoughts on this topic. Bye.